Hello and welcome back in. I'm Greg Smith of Hail Varsity, and I'm joined once again this Thursday with Steve Marik, staff writer for Hail Varsity. And we are back again to discuss a Nebraska football topic that has been hot this week. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great, Greg, the recruiting extraordinaire, as we like to call you. So I'm ready to get into it and tackle one of these topics.
Yeah, so we are at the end. I shouldn't even phrase it as we're at the end of kind of my season, because we really aren't. It never really stops, as we say in the recruiting notebook every day that goes live Sunday through Thursday on hailvarsity.com. Quick plug there. It doesn't end, but yesterday was National Signing Day, and because it was National Signing Day, the traditional version, we heard from Coach Scott Frost for Nebraska, who had a lot to say. Like I think that, you and I, Steve, were talking kind of ahead of time about, what's he going to talk about? Like there's plenty of recruiting stuff, but then we just started kind of listing off all of the different ways that he could have gone. And it definitely went a number of different ways with him yesterday. But one of the bigger ones, because quarterback is such a huge topic, and rightfully so, with a football team, he got into quarterback a lot, and kind of the process of getting both Casey Thompson and Chubba Purdy into Lincoln, like how that happened, what he liked about them. But then he had this to say about when he was asked whether or not Casey Thompson was brought to Lincoln to be the starting quarterback. Scott Frost said, quote, "That's not my narrative. There's a lot of narratives around that aren't really based in fact. Thompson, is going to have every opportunity to start, and he knows that. The other guys are going to get their opportunities too. And we've got a long time to work with him and a spring ball and a fall camp to figure that out." That's what he said. I guess I'll start here. Steve, I guess, what was your first thought when you heard him say that?
Well, my first thought is he's just doing what a majority, 95% of the head coaches out there are going to say. Like, there is going to be a competition, and there absolutely is going to be a competition. Now, if we were to ask him how confident Scott Frost and Mark Whipple are that Casey Thompson is going to come out the winner of said competition, I think they'd probably inside they would feel like, yeah, I think Casey Thompson's probably going to win this competition just because of what he's shown in his career playing in another Power 5 conference, and just what he brings as a leadership factor too. So I heard him say that, and I immediately thought that he's just doing what every head coach would say and be like, no, there's going to be competition and may the best man win. And that's technically true, but like, are they banking on Casey Thompson starting? I think they are.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that assessment. I think that if they're, to me, banking on Casey Thompson starting, I think that Casey Thompson is banking on him starting.
That's fairly obvious.
Yeah, like whether or not, like, during the recruiting process, they told him, hey, you're going to be the starter. That's a little bit of semantics. I would probably say they did not just flat out say that, but very much let him know and conveyed it to him that, hey, you're going to have every opportunity to be this guy. Like, we view you as somebody that could potentially be the starting quarterback. I thought it was really interesting, the different stuff that Frost had to say about leadership and what they need in that particular role as a leader of the program and of the team, and kind of being a face of that team. In part because of what we know about what Casey has done in just his short time being on campus, whether or not that's, taking all of the offensive linemen out to eat here in town for a very nice steak dinner, taking them out bowling to really just kind of be more social and all of that stuff. And then you've seen the videos, like it's squat season, right? So you've seen the videos of him out here in the weight room getting after it, and that he's leading in there. So I think that he's behaving in the way of a starting quarterback, but also in the way that Frost described and how he would like to see leadership from that position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're into social media at all, that Casey Thompson is doing everything correctly. Just it helped what he's doing, like you said, taking the offensive linemen out to eat, doing some fun activities with them. That is exactly what a starting quarterback in a Power 5 conference program needs to do. And plus, he's putting it out there for others to see. And it just kind of helps his public image, his I guess, brand of being the guy and acting like he wants to be the guy at Nebraska, I think that's making all the difference. And but by all accounts, it seems like his teammates are really enjoying him. And again, he's, like you said, with the leadership and what Scott said yesterday in his press conference, he's acting and he's bringing some juice to the program and acting like the leader that the quarterback needs to be, especially in a very, very important 2022 season for Scott and himself and the program.
Yeah, and I think the key thing in all of that too, that the one thing I keep thinking about in all of this when we're talking about Casey Thompson specifically is Nebraska needed a veteran quarterback, right? And these are the things that you get when you have someone that's been around the block, that's been at another major Power 5 school. You're not gonna, that learning curve is just different, and he's going to understand what it takes to be able to win guys over, right? Like, and I think that that's really important, especially as we talk about transfers coming in and out of the program in Nebraska's case, and almost record numbers, right? They've had a lot of guys coming into the program, 17 guys as mid-year enrollees to this team. And so when you have that, there can naturally just be a little bit of tension on the team. And this could be at many positions, right, for Nebraska, because as we've talked about before, like, it's hard pressed to find a position that hasn't been impacted or changed by the transfer portal for Nebraska this offseason. And so to help that, though, you have guys like Casey Thompson, and he's probably not the only one, because he brought a lot of like just smart veteran players onto this team that come in and know how to acclimate themselves to a new team and not come in with an attitude that could rub teammates the wrong way. I think that that will end up being a really big storyline just overall as we move through spring ball. Just how have all of these transfers and early enrollees to an extent found a way to fit in with the team, while also everyone acknowledging that they've been brought in to at the least shake up the competition.
Yeah, I kept thinking about when Scott was talking about the competition, all the positions, and I thought about these positions that are up for grabs, like running back. There's a bunch of names in the running back room right now, but like, is there a guy? We don't know that yet. So, and that's the same thing that can be said with the defensive backs, all four positions of those, plus the nickel position. Who's going to play that? Are they even going to like go to it as much as they were last year because they don't have JoJo anymore? So yeah, the defensive back room, the running back room, that nickel spot, the offensive line, everywhere you look, there's going to be cutthroat competitions, and there's at some positions, there's a lot of numbers in those rooms. And I'm just wondering how many guys are going to stick around once they kind of see the pecking order, and once they kind of get a feel for like, okay, am I going to be like first string, second string, third string, and how that changes futures. And there's going to be attrition after spring, and it's just going to be fun and interesting to watch, I guess, who wins these competitions and becomes, the guys at these positions that are up for grabs.
Yeah, that's one of that part of it is going to make spring football around here so much more interesting than what we maybe, if you had asked me at the end of the Iowa game, what do you think people's excitement level for spring football is going to be? I would not have thought it would be as high as I think it's going to be. And that's in part because, with all of the competition, it's going to be, like, I think, spirited practices. we're not going to get to watch full practices. We never have under Scott Frost, but it would be really interesting to see like a full padded, like full practice with this team, because you just aren't going to be able to, whether it's going back to quarterback, running back, wide receiver, offensive line, like you name a position, like there's going to be like intense competition to where you have to bring it on a daily basis. And I think that that's something that we won't be able to quantify with this 2022 team, but I think will be kind of an underlying factor of why, if this team takes steps forward, why they could, because they're going to have to be so intensely focused from day one of spring ball all the way through, because no one should really feel all that comfortable and safe in their positions outside of maybe, I'll give you an argument, the two inside linebackers, and kind of set them to the side. But
I was going to say like, yeah, Luke and Nick, you two are good.
Yeah, like you two, all right, cool. Even though we still got things that you guys need to work on too, but then
Oh yeah.
you're gonna, that's what Rude would say. But like like otherwise, man, it's wide open in a lot of spots. I don't necessarily know if quarterback is one of those spots. Despite what Frost said, I think that all signs and roads lead to Casey Thompson being the starter. Now, if he's not the starter, that either means that I don't even want to say that they missed on Casey Thompson. It would have just been like his production at Texas didn't quite translate, which would be weird. Or Purdy or even Smothers have taken such a huge jump to where they're, now able to overtake him. And that would ultimately be a good thing for the program. But I think all signs point to Casey Thompson being the guy when they kick off, against Northwestern in Dublin, to kick off the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the inside linebacker room, we know that those two, Luke Reimer and Nick Henrik, are really, really good, but a lot of that production was made because the guys in front of them on those two interior D-line spots were doing such a great job of, clogging offensive linemen up, manning up against double teams and creating those open areas for Luke and Nick to go downhill and get all those tackles, almost right. 200 total tackles between them. But yeah, it's just going to be interesting because the defensive line is one of those rooms that lost 3 starters basically in Ben Stille, Damian Daniels, and DeAndre Thomas. So with, Ty Robinson and Casey Rogers being the ones returning, there's a lot of questions and a lot of depth concerns at the D-line spots. So that could affect, Luke and Nick's numbers next year as well, and their ability to record all those tackles just like they did in 2021. So although getting Nick and Luke back is awesome, they're great. I think they'll be the first ones to tell you that the reason why they were so great last year is because of the big guys up front doing a lot of the dirty work that didn't always necessarily equate to statistics, I guess, on a stat sheet. So yeah, it's just going to be, like we said, competition everywhere. The D-line is going to be needing some bodies and new guys stepping up. So it's just going to be a really, really fun off season.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. And make sure for all of your, needs for the competition and what else is to come, make sure you're checking out hailvarsity.com. We'll have you covered all over all of this and more coming up here as spring football will rapidly be here before we know it. Here at the end of the month is about when it's scheduled to kick off. But you can also check out hailvarsity.com. We have all the recruiting coverage that you need from the last couple of days, as well as Nebraska did add a couple of late additions to the 2022 recruiting class. Steve's got a story up kind of recapping the other things that Scott Frost talked about yesterday as well. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you next week.